Hello everybody, welcome back to From Rhythm to Algorithm. So last episode we described what an axiom is, and it's just a physical law. Now we're applying our linguistics, our letters that represent sounds, to that process. What is sensorality? Why do we censor things? Building out the logic, pointing out empirical evidence, providing insight, trying to arrive at our unique string of letters that gives us a new logical statement. What is sensorality? Being and 8 have the same base, right? Trying to connect language to mathematics, and we're going to generalize that a lot more today, right? Literally the number 8, if you rotate it 90 degrees, you get the infinity sign. So now that we have geometric linguistics, what do we make of that? Again, it's some sort of iteration. That's when you start over, right? Literally as is, right? 0 up through 9. Once you get to 10, that's an iteration of 1 and 0. 11's an iteration of 1 and 1, so on and so forth. So what do we make of that, right? We have the word human, right, as a prefix, human hybrid. So do I think humans are hybrids? Not in like a sci-fi, you see some mad scientist alien creating a human being, no. Do we have genetic ancestors, right? All life is genetically related in the simple fact that it has nucleic acid, or at least life here. So do we have, but again, it's just some sort of, right, we would have naturally that we came from, again, more than one species as is, in the same way you have two parents. So no, I don't think humans are hybrids, like aliens concocted us in a petri dish and then placed us here for some intended purpose. Has life been on planet Earth before? Again, I've been briefed on these things. This is not me just saying this, yes. And so do we have genetic ancestors, so to speak, like grandparents at the species level? Certainly. But all of the evolutionary history of Earth as is known today is true. There's just a little more details that the good old science club's not telling everybody. And I literally mean the population of the human species on Earth. But it's true. But no, I don't think, no hybridization in terms of like intended, no, I would say no. Could be wrong, but I seriously doubt it. It would just be, again, if a intelligent species had come through Earth, I don't know, 4 trillion years ago, right? The genetic code would have impact on life development, so they would have some sort of responsibility. And so that's kind of where that goes. But what is terrestrial, right? We can look at these words. Alien is extremely different to me than terrestrial. Terrestrial means of the Earth. Why did we make the distinction of the Earth? If there's different beings from the sky, from the water, what is it, right? Pied à terre, foot to earth. What are we doing? What about terre? Why is it terrestrial? Why is that word there? And so again, extraterrestrial, alien are two different things. Both mean something, connect to exactly what you think they mean. But right, we are terrestrial. We are earthlings. But mainly, like, why are we associating that to the earth, to solid ground, not the ocean, specifically? But how many unique physical processes are there? And there's another one of those words where we go from a singular process to processes. Basis, bases, basises, right? So we're still that's still cooking in the background. Not really sure what to make of that. But how many physical processes are there? And it's infinite. Is it finite or is it infinite? And I just immediately said infinite. But again, the application, right? The vibration and rhythm being the basis or the fundamental ingredients. But how do you apply that? Again, you have jump, skip, run, walk, hop, duck, slip, like if you're boxing, and all of these different applications. Are there infinite many unique physical processes? I would say yes. Until further proven otherwise. But those are all of our axioms. So we have infinite axioms. And I really think that comes from the range of what vibration and rhythm develop into, as opposed to, again, why, like, the instinct to boil something down to the root, to root it, to find its base. It's like the universe is expanding, right? We're creating new information. And so are there infinite physical processes, like in the nuance of how you apply, or not even nuance, but just how do you apply vibration? How do you apply rhythm? How do you apply electricity, magnetism, gravity, all of the things we already differentiated? I would say yes. I'd be seriously surprised if it's not. But what is not finite? See, I'm literally just re-deriving the same things. What is continuous, right? So what is not finite, right? Mass is finite. It has a distinct, it's bounded, right? There's a gap between my foot and the ground. There's other molecules between there, and I feel a pressure when they contact, but they're not actually physically touching. So what is not finite? In energy, right? Energy and entropy. Entropy is the energy we can't use for work. Energy is the capacity to do work. And so how many actions are there? That's how many verbs there will be. How many things are there? Remember, we've made this extreme limitation where people haven't really thought about in the English language. You'll learn a noun is a person, place, or thing. And we're saying, no, a noun is strictly a thing. And then we differentiate the word thing, wing, sing, ding, ping, into these different unique verbs. And so how do we connect that to, again, finite and continuous? Again, a word is finite. Logic is continuous. The environment is continuous. I don't know. How do we connect those concepts? What differentiates finite from definite, right? If I say something is finite, you think truncation, you think termination. If I think something is definite, it's clear, it's known, it's concise, it's defined. And so what is the exact difference between finite and definite logically? Clearly, it's just a prefix linguistically, but what exactly context, what application does that apply to? Definition, finition, right? And then we can break that down. What is that base? Finality, finition, finitionality. I don't know what that is. Right, we asked the question previous episode, what's the difference between is and has? Is to identity, has is to possession. Again, remember, is our fundamental connecting identity verb. And then everything else is derivative from it, or, again, I'm not sure where this base and range concept applies here, but is identifies, has possesses. Speciality is amaturity. Sensuality is maturity. And again, I'm starting to get like showing you where I'm getting away. I don't even identify those word forms because remember, we're closing this proof. We're showing that we're showing the reduction of those syllables through these things that these variables we've defined, speciality and sensuality. And speciality has already been axiomatized. That's why you say the word special in every context. And so now again, the clear differentiation between maturity and amaturity, right? People wouldn't have connected those two words directly right now, but that's what they're opposites. That's right. If you're not mature, you're an amateur. But if you just ask somebody off the street, what's the opposite of an amateur? I guarantee you they're going to say professional. And so we're just showing you, like reducing, connecting these contexts, something to that effect. But maturity is professionalism. Professional, confessional, right? Science club. He's probably more mature than all of us. No, I am, and I've just had contact with this other group or sentience, but it's really just one consciousness for a long time. And so I am more mature than all of you. I demonstrated that with my actions. And so it's not, right, it's nothing personal, it's just business. It's nothing special, it's just business. So again, overarching what you have is, again, some sort of genetic remnant that has some sort of responsibility here, that is a non-human sentience, that, again, and then there's pockets of visitors, and it's like the coolest party you've never been invited to, right? It's good vibes only, but there's some people that have to host the party. And so obviously here on Earth, human beings are kind of the hosts, and we just, as Eric Weinstein put it on his edgy little tweet, what does India do if the North Sentinelese island just comes online? Well, nothing, right? The Sentinelese still have to grow up or mature. Human beings still have to grow and mature, and because you guys have fucked around a little bit behind closed doors with these different little pockets of interactions you have, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Or we can just meet up again at Wright Patterson. It's not too far from me. And so, but that's not the, I don't know exactly the interactions you guys have, but you're dealing with the juveniles. I'm dealing with the big boys and girls of civilization. And so it's nothing special, it's just business, right? Life isn't special, life is everywhere. But it really is more so of a business deal. Because this axiom we have of everything is seeking maximal efficiency, morality is, right, it's the same kind of concept or tone or vibe you get from the saying, it's nothing personal, it's just business. It's like there's certain things and aspects, like you would be nicer, or I don't want to say nicer, but like you would be, in business, you're more cutthroat, you're more, you're way more in tune with that efficiency axiom. You have to make money. And so they have that same kind of seriousness about life, sustaining life. And human beings have fucked around. All of the negativity, all of the speciality, the insecurity comes from human beings. So we got some crows visiting us today, who are actually very intelligent animals themselves. But my point is, it's effectively in the same way you might coddle your children a little bit, but when it comes down to business, it's business. And so their business is sustaining life. And so it's like, and then human beings are just running around trying to shoot them with their little spaceships, and they do have some interactions with the actual non-human life. But the pockets, like I'm saying, whoever you're dealing with is not the big boys and girls. So we should stop shooting the UFOs. That would be a good start. Because again, like I said, their vibe, their sentiment, when you interact, it is so genuine. It's like like I said, the coolest party you've never been invited to. But I'm invited, you fucking people aren't. And so it's but I've pulled my weight, right? Like in the same way you have business, it's like investors want to make money. They want to make good investments. But the average person who doesn't take the time to actually generate value, they just want someone to give them money. Investors tell them to kick rocks immediately. It's not that money isn't out there, people aren't looking to invest in things. So, but you have to have something to bring to the table. And here on Earth, I brought the table, literally. And so, but actually literally, I bring the knowledge and the history. This derivation is fundamentally unique in all of the universe right here. Brad has it, dibs. But I put in the work and I got it done. And I was capable of doing all of this derivation. Because clearly, again, anybody who wants to pick up this derivation, I own none of these words. You can do this logical analysis yourself anytime you want to start. Just pick up a pen, or you don't have to use a pen. The first time I did this whole process, I just emailed it to people. Which probably seems ridiculous, but the very first time I did this, I just had the final answer as a functional utility throughout my life. The theorem of linguistics, that words cannot be reduced. So that is what's going on there, Science Club. Sensorality is motional, speciality is promotional, right? If you promote yourself in business, you differentiate, you customize yourself. But sensorality is generic, sensorality is universal, sensorality is what makes us all the same. Speciality is what makes us different. Are we really that different? No. But are we? Yes. Again, just working out the logic. To promote is to advertise. Customizing, advertising. Speciality is versatility, right? If you want to customize something, I don't know, why did I define that? Versatility has a different connotation. Again, all words are unique. But versatility is more to like change, adaptability. I'd say versatility is, yeah, I literally have it written down. Versatility is adaptability. But again, like that speciality to versatility jump, you might say like, why did I make that? But again, I do all this derivation all day. Speciality changes, sensorality does not. What doesn't change is stable. Stability, sensibility. And so again, I said, I've proven to be extremely precise way back when, again, I don't know what episode, but I said animals have the same reaction times, which isn't the exactly true, because if you have like longer, if your neural pathway is longer, the transmission time is the same, but it's because your neuron is physically longer, it's going to take more time. So that process, like you drop a ball, whether it's a feather or a bowling ball, it falls. The change or the difference in velocity is because of the air resistance. The difference in transmission of electrical circuits for movement is literally physically length-based. But the firing timing is the same. Relevance is proportional to recence. We talked about news is what is recent, right? What is more new chronologically is more relevant. All context true. Again, just theorem. New is recent. Sensorality is recentality. Sorality, sentality. Sensorality is mortal. Sensorality is immortal. Again, sensorality with a C being immortal. What is the difference between to and toward, right? We have the two prepositions. If I'm going to something or if I'm going towards something, what's the difference? You can feel the logic. I can tell you can feel the difference. What is it? So we have to talk about it. Black holes, right? What is a black hole? And I'm being serious. Again, I throw in jokes, but they're not really jokes. I just point out the irony with sarcasm and satire, because some people have personalities in this world. But a black hole, right? If I just say, because remember what I've showed you is that language is consistent and they emerge from physical processes. And now we're backtracking from a word, sensorality, to a physical process. And so, what is a black hole, right? Can you think of anything that would be a black hole? Just as is. Your pupils, right? Your vision, your eyeball. It's literally a hole and it is literally black. Pupils are black holes. Now, can you think of any other orifices that might suffice as a black hole? I bet you have some ideas. But now, that's a shitty little joke. Pun intended, I guess. The reason you say pun intended or not intended is because there's natural irony to language. So I don't know if that was a joke or not. I don't fucking know. But point being, now, astronomically, what is a black hole? It's just a very dense collection of exceedingly low entropy, right? You say, why can't you see a black hole? And by see, why can't your detectors or your sensors register radiation from black holes? It's because there's very, very little. That's the whole explanation, right? If you move in time, if you walk back and forth right now and you want to limit the amount of sound you make, you're going to form a rhythm. And as we've shown you with the spherical packing density, it's just a really, really dense sphere of individual particles. There's not much inefficiency in there. And so the radiation is produced from that vibration from vibrating, which is not movement, but the mass vibrates and that radiation is transmitted. But if you're extremely, extremely ordered, then when you vibrate, you don't make sound and you don't push out light or you don't radiate. And so that is why you don't see, and again, I'm talking to physicists now, not your average YouTuber, but there's very, very little Hawking radiation is what you guys call it. Because there's no closed systems and nothing is completely stabilized, right? R2 and R3 are relatively stable. Light and mass are different but related. And so that is all you have there. Anybody, layperson, physicist at Harvard, that's what a black hole is. It's just an exceedingly low state of entropy. And there's because it's so self-contained, that's why you don't see it. Nothing else to be said there. That is completely true. But again, to the pupils and frankly to the buttholes out there, nice butthole, classic, but they're black holes. And the point is that the association of word to physical process is indiscriminate of context. And so with complete logical consistency, a pupil is a black hole. But in the same context, do you know what a vibrator is? Of course you do. That proves the base is vibration, all right? And so quantum field theory and loop quantum gravity and condensed matter and modified Newtonian dynamics, they're not going to predict a vibrator. And it's already a set physical process, a set physical thing to a physical process. And again, like I said, I don't masturbate. I get serviced. I absolutely do not get any women. And I like women out there, if anyone wants to jump in the DMs. But my point is, jokes still should be a little crude, funny joke, haha, but it's true, right? Like you're never going to make these connections. And if you're watching this video, you already know who I am, or you're just random dude on YouTube. And I hope you're learning something so far. But here's another direct thing. Humbling is proportional to mumbling, right? Clearly we have that consistency. You mumble when you don't know what you're going to say. Is the fundamental theorem of ignorance. You say when you don't know, like I just did. But it's, right, you literally, if someone's being a big tough guy and then you humble them, they go from talking a big game to literally mumbling. Like it's literally true. And so that's like a complete physical, linguistical proportionality theorem thing. It's a proof. I mean, it's just directly empirically true. But so this is another fun connection, right? And so that FBI director that was on one of your popular videos, Big Think or whatever it was, and he says it's intimidating. He's really saying it's humbling, right? And then when science team, and you go back and look at my Facebook, and it says I had that Facebook post and I had humility defined. Humility is humbling. So we're connecting that there to a Facebook post I made in 2013. Nice. So again, remember out there world, I had a whole Twitter account, I had a Facebook account, and every bit of that was all logic that is connected to this proofing. All of it. So it's not my fault you guys burned down a museum because of your arrogance. It's almost like people that don't learn from history repeat it. Just you guys didn't think it was going to be you guys, right? Yep, not my problem. But civility is proportional to humility. And so when you're interacting with these species, and I get that sentiment of we can do basically whatever we want. And I'm talking about the groups that you interact with too that still aren't humans, extraterrestrials, whatever you want to call them. It's your humility and arrogance still transcend a given species. And so if you say I can do basically whatever I want, you are not in the game, my friend. Not even fucking close. But civilization is proportional to humility. Getting along with one another is efficient. It doesn't even have to be moral. It's just fucking true. What is humility? But application is range, right? The amount of context you can apply these words to, or where this logical consistency is demonstrated, is what range, logical range is. What is the relationship of work and worship? Again, we've demonstrated profoundly that, again, religion is just an incomplete ontology from the past. But right, if you take a day off the work week to go worship, don't you see that how that's consistency, right? And so what is the function of Sunday? You take a day off of work to worship. Right? Oh, how many days of the week there are? 7, right? 8 is infinity. That's when you repeat. See? What's the difference between touch and connected, right? We have that overarching theorem. Everything is connected, nothing is touching. What's the difference? What's an expression? What's a word? Grammar connects words. It does. So again, now we're connecting context. General statement, what is the difference between touching and connected? Grammar connects words. We have a starting block. We don't have to build a super collider. I just say something that is definitively logically consistent. Well, am I going to cut it here? Yeah, I actually think I'm going to, let me see how long this one's going. I might stop here, I might not.